Hey, good morning, everyone. I just want to do another video, but I'm just going to talk about the American interview process. And so this is a bit like tongue in cheek. And so I've gone through enough interviews in my life because I keep bouncing around from jobs after 6 months, a year and a half, just because they get boring, they get political, they get boring. Did I say that? It's just boring, honestly. You just sit there and kill 8 hours listening to podcasts or just pretend like you want to be there. And I think more and more people are seeing this and experiencing this. So I'm not the only one, but I wanted to go through a 10-step interview process, and 10 questions that, a person would answer if they were just being totally honest and giving sort of a biblical response, to what we are asked in a lot of interviews. So if the person interviewing me would ask me what are my strengths, the answer would be, you could very much list them all, whatever they are. Like you could have interpersonal skills, technical skills, and all that kind of stuff. But you would have to ultimately say that every strength that's given to me is by God, and give credit to God for all things. And so that would be the start, the setup, the tone of the interview going forward, is giving God credit for all things virtuous, in my life. Weaknesses, you would list them, and all that. And then you would say, ultimately, our prayer as a Christian, as a Bible believer, is that God will redeem our experiences. And we want this next job to be part of that, where we will have successes and have failures, but ultimately learn from them, and then spiritually have God redeem them. And so they would ask, what is our 5-year plan? The biblical response is, Jesus Christ tells us to not even worry about tomorrow. Let today's worries be sufficient enough. And so, we don't really plan too much, because the reality is I could say, I could drive home right now and, be in a car crash, and there's my 5-year plan, and so we don't know what the future holds, but, and then say what your plan is. Let's just hypothetically say that, I'm alive for 5 years. This is what I would want to do if I could control it. But you say ultimately God is the author of my life. And then also you say that, and I would say, if I were to be asked for an honest response, I don't think America has 5 years. So that would be kind of hilarious how the person interviewing me would react to that. What corporate culture do you fit in well the most? I would say one that is creative, non-political, gives interesting work, very team-oriented, not purely profit-driven, because that to me is a conflict of interest, pardon the pun, and, that type of thing. What are your thoughts on leadership? Kind of similar to corporate culture. It would be giving people that report to me freedom to be creative, to ask questions, and really feel like when they come to work, they're excited about it and they're working towards something that is virtuous and beneficial to society. What salary do you want? I would say, based on inflation and the amount of money printing that's been happening in the world, I feel a fair salary for somebody of my level of expertise is around $200,000 or more. And I would obviously have to figure out a way to say that with a straight face. I definitely do not make $200,000 or anywhere near that in my life, but I pretty much had roughly a flat salary throughout my 10-year career, and it's gone down recently because I'm working part-time. But, again, this is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but if I were to be asked honestly what I feel I deserve, I deserve what's proportional to the amount of money printing that's been happening for the last 20 years. How many hours do you feel comfortable working per week? I would say 20 to 30. I feel 20 to 30, 40 at the most, if it's really, there's actually things to do. But I think 20 or 30 hours is more the way we were designed, like our human body, the way most of us have now, the vigor and the energy levels and all that in lieu of the food that we eat, in lieu of the air that we breathe and all those other things that's going on in the world. I just think our body is more designed for a 20 to 30 hour work week, and if there's not much to do, less than that. It depends on the work, but no more than 40 hours, because to me that doesn't leave enough time to get home, rest, relax, work out, eat well, all that kind of stuff. How much time off do you require? Again, that's in line with my previous answer. If my work life is about 20 to 30 hours a week, don't really need that much time off unless there's a major trip planned or something like that. And then that would offset those weeks that I work more than 20 or 30. And, because to me, 20 or 30 hours of like good, work that people are working towards something, even if it's not necessarily rocket science, is like good for our body, just to like get up, get out, and all that kind of stuff. And, you wouldn't even necessarily probably even want to retire if you have 20 or 30 hours of work a week that you enjoy and feel like you're part of something, again, like I said, virtuous. You would, just as humans, we would always need something to do. So if that were the case, and obviously it's not here, but that would be something that people would not want to retire from for their own benefit. If someone is doing unethical, what would you do? Biblically, we're required to introspect. And if somebody else is doing anything unethical, I'd have to confess that if I'm doing that, I'd have to confess that first. And then if that's not the case, then, I would have to report that behavior, especially if it's impacting other people in an adverse way. What do you know about this company's various policies? If they're a public company and they have stock buybacks, I would say I believe stock buybacks are a form of insider trading, is demonic, and is leading to the demise and ruin of a lot of people who invest in the stock market. And I'd be like, do you have any other questions? So like, how many jobs would you get, if we were to go through those 10 questions or one similar to that and answer them in an honest biblical way? This is tongue in cheek, but this is more for to illustrate a point with a little bit of hyperbole that you cannot be righteous in America. You can't. And I don't ever want to sing that song. I can't sing that song. And we're not allowed to. You're not, even if, let's say that was in me to say something like that, and it wouldn't be as received in such a crazy way, like that would not work in the society that we live in. And not even that extreme, but even aspects of that, even like trace amounts of that would be detected, and a person would be rejected. Let's say every single question they answered with the corporate, Kool-Aid, but a person said, I just don't really want to work more than 40 hours. Like I'll do, I'll answer strengths, weaknesses, corporate culture, all that, but, I just want to work a reasonable amount, that there's somebody else who's going to work 50, 60, 70 hours. And so they'll wait for that person. So to me, you cannot be virtuous, you can't be healthy, you can't be honest in, the system that we have now worldwide, but definitely here in America. So I challenge people to, evaluate the things that we say. Again, I'm not judging other people. I've had to say things that I don't fully agree with in job interviews and in dating as well in particular. But so I'm not coming on a moral high road. I'm saying we're all in this mess together. But just know that the God of the Bible places a high standard, and he's not uncomfortable with his children pleading to him, saying that, yes, God, we are aware of that standard. We would love to live that, but we absolutely cannot. And it's not getting better. So hope everyone's doing well. Bye.